Hello, good evening. I would like to go through a few passages stemming from the following passage. This is in the Gospel of Matthew. The Gospel of Matthew, chapter 5, verses 14 through 16. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Now, what are we talking about? We have light, we have world, we have reference to a city, we have reference to a hill, we have the implication of hiddenness, we have the possibility of a basket, we have the endorsement of a lampstand, we have the description of a process, we have the assumption of a house, and then we end with a command, an instruction. Let your light so shine before men. And finally, a purpose, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father. Where? In heaven. So, as Jordan Peterson would say of Cain and Abel, this paragraph, a mere 2-3 verses, contains more than a world. It seems to contain everything we might experience. And so, which is more, an objective description of a frame, or a subjective evocation of what can be done within the frame? Obviously, it's both. But how are they calibrated? And what does this paragraph mean? Now, one approach to interpreting the paragraph is to think conceptually about what we mean when we say light, house, world, giving, cities, hills, hiddenness. And we can attach to those hooks our own coats, hats. But if you do that long enough, you see how it winds down. And then the wisdom of Ecclesiastes bears itself out, that there is nothing new under the sun. So if we're not going to go the arbitrary conceptual route, what's an alternative to understanding this paragraph? I would say treat it as a palimpsest, a fancy word for everything here has been chosen, selected. Why? Notice when you ask that question, you're not asking, how can I associate as much as possible? Rather, you're asking, why would someone have thought it good to align these verses? What are they expecting me to get, to feel, to see? What light are they giving me through these words? Now, since this paragraph turns up in a gospel, which turns up in a canon, a book, we might consult the book for our answer. And while there may be endless doors to knock on, I have 4 to 5 places I want to go. And let's take them, for lack of a better word, chronologically. Starting with the last chapter in Exodus, chapter 40, verses 28 through 32. The tabernacle of testimony has been constructed. Then the cloud covered the tabernacle of testimony, and the tabernacle was filled with the Lord's glory. But Moses was not able to enter the tabernacle of testimony because the cloud overshadowed it. And the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Whenever the cloud ascended from the tabernacle, the children of Israel prepared to depart with their belongings. But if the cloud did not ascend, they did not prepare to depart until the cloud ascended. The cloud must be important. For before all Israel, throughout all their journeys, the cloud was above the tabernacle by day, and fire was over it by night. So we have a relationship. We have world, house, light, hiddenness, city, hill. In the Gospel of Matthew. Go further on in the Gospel of Matthew, and you have the Transfiguration. Hear what is said. Not what we think the concept Transfiguration means, but hear what is written. Now, after 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John, his brother, led them up on a high mountain by themselves. And he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. Then Peter answered and said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If you wish, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them. And suddenly a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their faces and were greatly afraid. But Jesus came and touched them and said, Arise and do not be afraid. When they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no one but Jesus only. This must be important. Now, as they came down from the mountain, Jesus commanded them, saying, Tell the vision to no one until the Son of Man is risen from the dead. Cloud, tabernacle. Back in Exodus, the tabernacle was filled with the Lord's glory, but Moses was not able to enter the tabernacle of testimony because the cloud overshadowed it. And the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. So there's the tabernacle filled with the Lord's glory, and overshadowing it is the cloud. And because the tabernacle was filled with the Lord's glory, Moses was not able to enter the tabernacle of testimony. We return later in the Gospel of Matthew, the Transfiguration, he, Jesus, was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as the light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. They appeared not in the same place. This is a powerful concept. What is the tabernacle of testimony? And why could Moses not enter the tabernacle of testimony when the cloud overshadowed it and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle? What's in this idea of filling? Moses and Elijah appeared to them, talking with him. Place. Place is sort of a miracle. Now, the next part, as we're going through this process of giving light, chapter 24 of Leviticus, and then that will be it. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Command the children of Israel to bring you pure oil of pressed olives for the light." This must be important. To make the lamps burn continually. Outside the veil in the tabernacle of testimony, Aaron and his sons shall keep it burning from evening. From evening until morning, before the Lord continually. It shall be an ordinance forever in your generations, upon the pure lampstand. I'm not quoting the Gospel of Matthew. I'm reading from Leviticus. Gospel of Matthew, Leviticus, these things are not accidental. It shall be an ordinance forever in your generations. Upon the pure lampstand you shall burn the lamps before the Lord until morning. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father. Why does the gospel writer Matthew say your Father in heaven? The cloud overshadowed the tabernacle of testimony, which was filled by the glory of the Lord. His face, the Lord's face, shone with light in the transfiguration, in the gospel. And a cloud was above him, overshadowing them, and it spoke and said, "Hear him. This is my beloved Son." So we see a fulfillment. Synoptically. And so now, finally, we return and reread with understanding that passage. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on pure lampstands. I added that. Let me go back. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. So we've talked about the Father in heaven. We've talked about the house. We've talked about light. But what about this so shining forthness, this process? And the good works, I can't say it, but my prayer book, this is an Orthodox Christian prayer book, has many things in it. One thing it has is an akathist, a kind of, I don't know what the word means in Greek, but a poetic meditation and singing to the Lord. In particular, with this akathist, glory to God. But of this long akathist, which has many sections, there is one that is apropos to what we're discussing here. And that is the following. I'm going to read it in its entirety and then stop and linger over one part. I see thy heavens glistening with stars. I see your heavens glistening with stars. I see the bare neutral sky that science owns like a piece of real estate that it can capture with its telescopes. No, I see your heavens glistening with stars. This is not an impersonal creation. What's the illusion? Chapter 1 of Genesis. Verse 14. Then God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven for illumination to divide day from night. Let them be for what? Let them be for signs and seasons. Why didn't he just say seasons? Because signs and seasons are not synonymous. Signs and seasons, and for days and years. Let them be for illumination in the firmament of heaven to give light on the earth. This is important. It was so. Then God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. Interesting. Wasn't he talking about the stars the whole time? Notice the tone. He made the stars also. After what? Two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. But we've went through Leviticus, we've went through Exodus, we've seen that light is far more than photons, the switching of a light bulb. It's not neutral. God set them in the firmament of heaven to give light on the earth and to rule over the day and over the night. Dominion. And to divide the light from the darkness, ruling over, dividing, rational. Personal. God saw that it was good. So evening and morning were the fourth day. If that was the groundwork, again, this prayer, I see thy heavens glistening with stars. How rich thou art. How much light is thine. Eternity watches me by the rays of the distant stars. I am small, insignificant, but the Lord is with me. Greater, lesser light. I am small, insignificant, but the Lord is with me. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father who is in heaven. I am small, insignificant, but the Lord is with me. Thy loving right hand keeps me everywhere and always, signs and seasons, days and years. Glory to thee, ceaselessly watching over me. Glory to thee for my providential meetings with other people. Glory to thee for the love of family, for the faithfulness of friends. Glory to thee for the meekness of the animals who serve me. Glory to thee for the bright moments of my life. Glory to thee for the innocent joy of the heart. Glory to thee for the happiness of living and moving and having our being in thee. Glory to thee, O God, from age to age. Oil in the lamp is made from pressed grapes, pressed olives, I should say. Glory to thee for the bright moments of my life. In conclusion, if we can say such a thing, good works are far more than what the eye can see. Good works occur at every level and can occur at every level. But let us take such things one day at a time and continue learning, because we can, well, to rope in a cliche, we never stop learning. Thank you for your attention. And have a good night. Thank you.